What's up everyone, it's your girl Lulu back with another video. If you're new to my channel, feel free to subscribe and stick around if you'd like to continue hanging out with me. And if you enjoyed learning a little bit more about me, my story, and what I shared with you all today, hit that like button and leave a comment down below. Before I continue, I do want to mention that I am not a professional, nor am I an expert in these areas, so if you are seeking medical advice or would like to learn more about these topics, I do advise you to consult with your doctor or a professional that can definitely help you with these topics. Alright, so I know this video is a little overdue since my baby girl is now a little over 3 months. Nevertheless, I do feel it is important for me to share my story, my knowledge, and my experience with my pregnancy and my labor and delivery. I will be adding a recording of the day, that moment that I gave birth, so I hope you will enjoy that as well. These type of videos helped me out when I was pregnant, and even now during my walk into motherhood, I enjoy learning from other mamas. I feel more at ease when I hear what other moms are going through, what I will potentially go through or have gone through. If I can relate to them or just learn something, There's always so much information and something new to learn when you're carrying a child, and especially when you're raising a child. So I know that it may seem like a lot that I'm going to talk about based on the title of the video. However, it'll all makes sense. I know that it will all come together, and after you hear my experience, you're probably gonna be like, whoa, that was a lot. But it's so graceful to know the end result and why everything happened. I feel like everything happened for a reason, and I am just grateful and blessed to just sit here today and share this with you all. Let's just start at the beginning of my pregnancy. I can humbly say that I had a pretty healthy pregnancy. I did not have any morning sickness or nausea, vomiting, headaches. I'm sorry, I say it that way because I know that a lot of pregnant women unfortunately do go through all those things, just not feeling like yourself, just feeling very down. I do remember I did have really low energy, like I just wanted a nap after work, and I would work from home, so it would be easier for me to just take a nap. I just didn't really have any energy the first few months, the first 3 months. So yes, I'm very thankful that I didn't really have any of those symptoms. It was just, like I said, low energy and taking naps. And I couldn't really eat chicken, like I couldn't smell it. It would gross me out, so I wouldn't even try eating it because I didn't want to vomit ever. So even though I was working from home, I did become more active throughout my pregnancy. I really enjoyed dancing. My husband does as well. And so we would still dance like at quinceañeras and weddings. We did have several of those kind of events while I was pregnant, and I was also dancing at home. I also have the pleasure of helping out a very good friend of mine with her niece's quinceañera, their choreography. I remember telling her that I was very thankful for that experience, just to have the opportunity to get out of the house and be active in what I love to do, which is dance. Even though I was 5-6 months pregnant, I felt that it would help me out in the long run, and I still continued to dance at 7-8 months pregnant. So fast forward to when I was about 8 months pregnant, I was diagnosed with cholestasis of pregnancy. Cholestasis of pregnancy is a condition of the liver that occurs in late pregnancy. It's when the bile of the liver slows down or stops. And the bile is basically a digestive fluid in the liver that supports our digestive system. So when the bile flow slows down or stops, it may cause symptoms like itching, dark urine, or loss of appetite. And so when you are diagnosed with cholestasis of pregnancy, your doctor will most likely recommend for you to be induced at 37 weeks, because if you do go full term, it can be harmful to baby. That's just based on what I was told and the research that I did on cholestasis of pregnancy. The main symptom that I personally had was itching. I was very, very itchy on the palms of my hands and my feet. It was really, really bad, mainly at nighttime. And that was when I was about 32 weeks. That's when it started. I didn't really think anything of it. I remember just complaining that maybe
I got bit by something, or just finding it really odd and thinking that I should bring it up at my next appointment. And then I especially wanted to bring it up after talking to my friend about it.
I remember she was checking in on me, seeing how I was doing with my pregnancy and how I was feeling, and I told her, girl, nobody told me that itching was a symptom in pregnancy. I found it really crazy, and I was just expressing myself with her, and she mentioned that it could be something that has to do with the liver because someone close to her had experienced that, and they were put on medication. So that's when I was like, okay, now I really have to bring that up to my doctor at my next appointment, which when I spoke to her, it was 2 days before my appointment. So I figured that I could just wait. So at my 33-week appointment, I went ahead and mentioned the symptom that I was having, which was severe itching, and she basically told me the same thing, that it could be condition of the liver that occurs in late pregnancy. They ran a blood test, and about a week later they called me to let me know that I tested positive for cholestasis of pregnancy. And that's when they really explained to me that I was going to be put on medication and most likely be induced at 37 weeks, which was not part of my birth plan, but I was already aware that my birth plan was probably not going to fall through just because things happen, and I was trying to be open-minded about that. So just a tip. But yeah, I was put on medication that same day. I was prescribed 2 different types of medication for the cholestasis of pregnancy, and aside from that, I was advised to also take Benadryl for like the itchiness. And I was also told that I would now have to go in once a week to get ultrasound done, to check on my baby, make sure that everything's okay, and that the medication is functioning right. I do want to mention there is no known way to prevent this condition of the cholestasis of pregnancy. It just happens. So yeah, that same night I started to take the medication that I was prescribed and the Benadryl that I had from home. And the next morning, which was Wednesday, early that morning, I began to have really bad headaches. And I remember thinking maybe it's just a side effect from the medication. I didn't really think much of it. I just thought that it came with, the condition that I had. So the next morning on Thursday, it happened again. And it was, again, really bad headaches, migraine. And I remember my husband asking me, do you want me to take you to the ER before I leave to work? Let me know so that we can go to the hospital, because I was going to be alone at home all day. And I remember just telling him, no, don't worry, just go to work. And when my doctor's office opens, I'm going to call and just let them know that I'm having a really bad migraines that are lasting for hours, like through the middle of the day. And that it was already the second day after starting this medication. So just to get advice from them and see what they tell me. And so I did call them, and I remember the nurse told me, well, you should go ahead and take just the Benadryl tonight and take the medication in the morning, because I was taking it at night and it was already 2 nights. So she told me, only take the Benadryl tonight, don't take the medication until tomorrow morning. Maybe it's just too much that you're taking at night, and that's why it's maybe causing your headaches. And then she said, if that does not make the headaches go away, then please go to the hospital. And I was like, okay. So that night I took just the Benadryl, and then it happened again, you guys. It was around 1 or 2 a.m. that Friday, June 25th, that I woke up, and I remember just always waking up hungry, so I ate cereal, and then I had a really bad headache, feeling the migraine just come all over again. And that time it was really, really bad. Like, I remember just thinking, okay, it's like 2:30 a.m. I'm gonna wait till 4, which is when my husband's alarm goes off. And well, that's when I told him that I had a really, really bad headache. Ya no aguanto. I was like almost crying of the pain and just feeling so frustrated because I couldn't sleep. And I remember praying before I even woke him up. I was sitting there on the edge of the bed praying to God, please, please take this headache away.
Please don't let it be
anything serious. And so he immediately gets up and he's really concerned at this point because it's already the third night. And he's like, ay, mi amor, pues what if it's the Benadryl? What if it's expired? He got up and he checked the medication, the Benadryl box.
He pulls out the medication from inside the box and breaks down. That's when we both just panic. The reason we panic is because it's not Benadryl that's in the box.
I know, guys, I know what you're already thinking at this point. You're probably like, oh my gosh, how could she take the wrong medication? How could she not double check, especially because, she's pregnant?
I know, I felt so dumb. When I tell you how dumb I felt, like, I just remember blaming myself. I was like, oh my gosh, how is it not Benadryl that I've been taking? It's something else. It's actually called Rosel. It's a medication from Mexico, and it's actually for allergy as well. It has Tylenol and something else, but at that moment we didn't know. Like, we didn't know what it was. And I know it's not an excuse, you guys, but I never really take medication. When I get sick, I usually just use like home remedies that my mom taught me growing up. So I rub Vicks and alcohol all over my body. Like, if I have body ache, if I have a headache, if I have like an ear infection or gripa, whatever, I just rub Vicks and alcohol all over my body. And if I feel weak to do that, then I will ask my husband to do that. When I was little, I would just call my mom and just tell her, I sobe, and she'll know what to do. So I got that from her, and I really believe in that. I truly believe that heals me. And also eucalipto, just inhaling that, and also calditos, like eating a caldo de pollo, chicken broth. So yeah, like, I never really take medication, so I didn't even
think twice of checking what was in there. I just took what was in there, but it wasn't Benadryl.
Guys, I felt so down. But yeah, anyway, so we panicked. My husband looked at me and he was like, mi amor, no te estás tomando el Benadryl, es otra cosa.
The reason why we panicked even more is because on the back of like the pills, like the aluminum part, it had a picture of a pregnant woman and like an X on it, or like,
to not take if you're pregnant. So he automatically just thought the worst, and I didn't really think the worst because I was able to feel my baby kicking, and she would always kick around that time. Like, when he would wake up for work, he would always sing to her, like, he would always talk to her while she was in my belly, and I knew that she was kicking. I knew that she was still moving normally. So I remember telling him, calm down, please, like, the baby is good, I feel like she's okay. Like, we just need to go to the hospital and get an ultrasound done and just, make sure that everything's okay, and just let them know that
I was taking the wrong medication. I was going to take that with me to show it to them and to find out really what it is. It's getting dark on me, you guys, so I fixed my lighting and I have my baby here with me. So yeah, you guys, we quickly went to the emergency room, and we're just really scared when we went in there. We were just asking for an ultrasound as soon as possible. We just wanted to make sure that our baby was okay. And I did take the medication and I showed it to them, and they were gonna let me know, what it was. But the faces that I got, you guys, it was like these faces. No, I remember just feeling kind of judged, and I was fine with that because I felt really dumb, like I said already. A couple of the nurses there, they went into the room that I was checked in the emergency room. They just kept asking me questions like, why was I taking this medication, and what was the purpose of me even taking the Benadryl. And so I told them about the cholestasis of pregnancy. So after a couple of hours of being in there and just being asked all sorts of questions, we weren't really getting an answer as to how our baby was doing. And so my husband was pretty scared and like stressed out about that still, and I was still having really bad headaches, so I couldn't really focus. And the nurses saw that we were really scared, and they realized that
my blood pressure was pretty high, and that was causing my headaches. Like, I was still having really bad headaches after a couple hours of being there. They did get approval from my doctor. He did give the okay for me to go ahead and take Tylenol, for the headache to go away. And so I did take Tylenol, and after another couple hours, my blood pressure was not going down. Like, it was still pretty high. It was like in the 180s. I was not really knowledgeable about blood pressure issues, and thankfully, my family has never really suffered from that. So I didn't really pay attention to that until, that day. I learned so much. So they basically told me that because my blood pressure was not going down, that it was like in the 180s, almost 190, that I could have a stroke or seizures, and that was really, really dangerous, obviously, especially being pregnant. And so they told me that because they already tried to, bring my blood pressure down by trying to calm me down, me taking the Tylenol, and nothing was working, and it had already been a few hours, then I had to go up to labor and delivery to possibly be induced. And so, sure enough, I go to labor and delivery, and they tell me that I have to be induced. I remember being there, hearing that, and having all sorts of staff coming in, like nurses, doctors, just all their faces, just the way that they were looking at me. It was with like so much sympathy. And I remember they were like rubbing my feet and my legs and just telling me that I was going to be okay. Like, they were giving me like kind of bad news, but with a smile on their face, and like just these eyes, like a sparkle in their eye, just trying like to let me know that I was going to be okay. Yeah, that was a moment that my husband and I just looked at each other like, whoa, we're having our baby. Because they literally said, you are not going to leave. You are having your baby either in the next day or a couple days. And this was Friday, June 25th. And so I was like, okay, I'm sorry, to go back to the medication. They did say that the medication was not the problem, and that it was a good thing that I took the wrong Benadryl, because that's what led me to go to the hospital. Which I do agree with that, but I also agree that because it was already the third night that I was experiencing severe migraines, like really bad headaches, I was already planning to go at that point, because I mean, I can't be that stubborn, right? They reassured us that the baby was fine, we were fine, and that the reason why I was having the really bad headaches is because of my blood pressure. And that's when they said, okay, they mentioned the word preeclampsia. Preeclampsia is pretty common in pregnancy, and when you're diagnosed with that, then you most likely have to be induced. So either way, I was going to be induced. We were really, really stoked about having our baby. We were just so excited. I remember my husband coming home to try to get some things. I remember asking my sister if she could bring some things to the hospital, because we didn't have anything ready. I mean, as you can tell, I was only 34 weeks and 6 days. So we were not prepared with a hospital bag or the car seat. So it was all just happening so fast. And I remember when they said I was going to be induced, it was around 10 a.m. And then it was like an hour later when they actually induced me. And before I got induced, they did give me a steroid shot for my baby's lungs. So because she was going to be born premature, that would be able to enhance and just give her more strength in her lungs. And also, before I got induced, they did check me, and they noticed that I was already 2 centimeters dilated. And that just made me feel really good, because we were already flowing. Like, it was all happening pretty fast, and that's what I wanted. I didn't want to be stuck there like in labor all weekend. So they induced me, and then a couple hours later I dilated to 4 centimeters. And then like around 4:30 p.m. they told me, okay, you're like 5-6 centimeters. And during that time, they would come in and ask me if I wanted the epidural, and I remember just declining, just saying no. I didn't really feel any pain, like any really bad contractions. So I would just say no, I'm gonna
I'll let you know when I really need it, if I really need it, you know? And so at that time it was like around 4:30 p.m., 5 p.m. when they broke my water. And girl, that's when I started to feel
The contractions. That's when I got like the slap in the face. I was like, oh my gosh, it was really,
really bad contractions. And they were happening pretty like consistently, so they were pretty bad. Me estaba tratando de aguantar. I was trying to get through it, but then I started to like shake and like
get anxious, and they were like back to back. So I remember just saying, okay, I want the epidural, and that was like around 6:30 p.m. I remember looking at the clock because I wanted to just remember the time for everything. Shout out to our wonderful, beautiful, sweet, sweet nurse that we had, Katie. She was so down to earth. I couldn't have asked for a better nurse.
Katie was there when I was going through the pain, and when I finally made the decision to get the epidural, she held me so tight. I remember she was whispering in my ear just
so much motivation and just speaking life into me and helping me feel better and remain focused. I just felt so good. Like she was amazing. And although my husband was my number one support, he was my best motivation in the room. I just felt really grateful for her. And he also did too. Like he thanked her so much. Like he loved her and she loved him too. Like, I remember she said, you don't really see men asking so many questions and just being so involved.
Oh yeah, that also made me feel really blessed just to have both of them there.
And yeah, I got the epidural around 6:30ish, and then I remember they told me, you could press the button if you want more, and I was like, no, because after I got the epidural, she checked me again to see if I had dilated more after I had calmed down, and that was like
around 7 p.m.
right before she clocked out actually. And she told me, oh my gosh, you're already 9 centimeters. Like, how? Whoa, like you dilated so quick, you're already 9 centimeters dilated, you're
ready to have this baby. And I remember just thanking God and just being so much more excited. My husband was just jumping up and down, so pumped and ready for this. And unfortunately, she had to leave, she had to go home. Another nurse came in with her students.
Then the midwife came in.
And then about half an hour later, they checked my cervix again and they told me,
no, honey, you're not 9 centimeters dilated. You're actually only 6-7 centimeters. And I was like, what? Like, how could that be,
It didn't really make sense to me. I remember the midwife had to go do a C-section, and I remember just telling the nurse that was still in the room, are you sure that I'm not 9 centimeters, or are you positive? Because I feel so much pressure down there. And for real, guys, I felt so much pressure down there.
To put it more in simpler words, I felt like I needed to poop. Mande mi amor. I felt like I needed to poop really bad. That's the pressure that I felt. And I'm sure that if you've been pregnant before, or if you are pregnant, even if you're not pregnant, you probably heard of that. You probably heard that when you're ready to have your baby, when you feel like you need to take a big poop, And so yeah, like
I remember they just laughed and they were like, it's okay, when the midwife comes back, she'll check you again. And they walked out of the room, and as soon as they walked out, I told my husband, I was like, babe, check me, like for real. I feel like I need to poop. Can you please like check? Or if I poop, you're gonna clean it, someone's gonna clean it, and I know I'm gonna have this baby. Like, I remember just saying, it's happening, babe. I know that this is a feeling that you have, or that is I'm supposed to have when I'm ready to have her, like that pressure feeling, and it wouldn't go away. And so
yeah, he automatically like goes outside and he tells him she feels that she needs to do number 2, so if you can please come in here and check her again, please, and get a second opinion or something. So yeah, like the nurses come in, and the nurse is the one that checked me that time, and she said, oh yes, like she felt the baby's head right there. So she called the midwife.
She comes in and she checks me, and she was like, okay, please do not push. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try not to, but I can't really help it. The pressure is real. So
yeah, they get everything prepared and ready
for me to deliver, and I'm adding a recording of that. So you will see that part. I don't think I have to explain that part. I forgot to mention, you guys, that before they actually told me that I had preeclampsia when I was about to be induced, they did ask me if I had swelling on my feet, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes. I've had my feet swollen since I was like 28 weeks or so, and I would tell them at my appointments, they would look at my feet, they would look at my legs, how swollen I was, and they would just reassure me that I was okay because my blood pressure wasn't never high. I didn't have any problems with my blood pressure until that week that I was experiencing the headaches. So all of that relates to, your blood pressure. And so it is very important to check your blood pressure while you're pregnant and even after that. I was still experiencing high blood pressure problems even after having my baby, guys. I don't know, I just had anxiety because, my baby, she was put in the NICU right away. I didn't have her with me in the room, and I remember like 24 hours after I had her, they took me off of the magnesium, which is the drug that they put me on when I got induced. The magnesium was to control my blood pressure for me to be able to deliver. When they took me off that magnesium, they noticed that my blood pressure was high, and they came into the room and they were like, girl, what's going on? Like, you are causing us to come in here and check your blood pressure like every 5 minutes. And I remember just telling them I can't sleep and that I was getting the headaches again, and maybe it's because of anxiety. I didn't have my baby with me. We did have our baby with us right after I gave birth. They did allow for our baby to be with us for about a couple hours, but then they took her to the NICU because she was premature. She did have problems with her blood sugars, and she still needed more time to learn to feed and to grow. Like, I just started to feel so much anxiety, and I would just hear baby crying. I didn't know if it was like the room next door or if it was her because the NICU was like down the hall. Just not being able to hold her, and like even when I would go see her, it would only be for a certain amount of time. I mean, NICU mamas, you probably know what I'm speaking of. And then I would have to go in a wheelchair because of the blood pressure, because of the magnesium. I wouldn't really be able to walk. It was tough, but I got through it, and just so thankful. Before I continue, I do want to say that I am so blessed and grateful for all of the support that I had from the staff to my husband, just everyone in the room that day. I felt like a superwoman just having my baby. Like, they lifted me up so much, and I felt just so blessed to live that moment and to give birth. With the grace of God, I couldn't have done it without Him, without His love, without His faithfulness. Although it does seem scary and, too much or a lot to deal with, I knew that I was going to be okay and that we were going to be okay, right, baby? ¿Verdad que sí, mi amor?
Okay, let's take breath in. Hold it really hard and then push as hard as you can, all down in your bottom. Breathe, that's all.
You got this, baby.
Yeah.
You got this,
Yep.
baby.
You're good now.
Nice. Nice, mi amor. You got this.
Okay, let that breath out.
Let your breath out.
Another one back in.
Got this,
Right
love.
up here. All down in your bottom.
Mete la cabecita afuera, mi amor. Mete la cabecita afuera, mi amor. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and stop. You're all done. Here, will you put this over here, Francine? It's out. Okay. Fluffy baby. Fluffy baby. Okay, let me up in there. Thank you. Perfect. Hi. Nice to meet you. We got it right.
Yes.
Hi. So it's straight. Here. There. Thank you.
Yes, mama. I'm here, mama.
Yeah, so it's fine. You before? Yeah. Wow, you're like a rock star. We're just gonna let the cord stop pulsing for a second so the baby is vigorous enough. Yeah. Hi. Are you a girl? Yes, you're small but mighty. Good job, kid.
Strong, mama.
Isn't that amazing? Thank you so much. Wow.
Again, Again, I hope that you enjoyed this time with me.
and hearing our story.
Thank you so much for watching this video.
Have a blessed day and be safe, y'all. Di adios, mi niña.